Good afternoon, everyone. We will get kicked off in just a few minutes. We're going to give everyone a little bit of time to hop in. Probably get kicked off at 1:03. In the meantime, for those of you who join us on the regular basis, I think we always ask where you're calling in from, which I'd love to know. But I'm going to mix things up. I want to know, and here, I'm going to do this because I've got one of my kitties sleeping back here. I want to hear about your pets. Yes, this will be recorded and we'll make it available later on. But tell me how many, if you've got any working family members in your office with you right now, little furry friends. Ooh, and a bearded dragon.
This is the first time, Amy, that I've ever said I regret not being in my home office because you've seen it. It's a total disaster. But you can see I have a goldfish I found out through practical experience will grow as big as the tank. So
Oh,
if it
wow.
eats everything else in the tank, I have a foot-long goldfish right now at home.
I love little hedgehogs too. Nick, I need to see a picture of the bearded dragon on the next Sassy call. Aw, Gold's in the lab. Kitty cats. All right, let's see. Give it just one more minute. We've got a lot of attendees still coming in. But because this is recorded and we'll just do some intros to get kicked off, Chip, why don't you take it away?
All right. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. I've really been looking forward to this webinar because we've been talking about this topic. I think we're going on a year and building up to getting to where we are today. So I'm really, really excited to be pulling this all together. So what we will be covering today, first off, I'm Chip Buck, co-founder and CTO here at SaaS Alerts, and joined by Dustin Bolander, founder at Beltex and the VP of Operations and Technology at FifthWall Solutions. We always start every call that SaaS Alerts either hosts or sponsors with a description of why we are in business. So I'm going to cover that. And we believe there's a transition underway in the cybersecurity practice from an on-premise and device-centric focus to identify threats to a user behavior analysis and account-centric approach to identify threats. Our goal at SaaS Alerts is to help MSPs win on that transition. So our agenda today, about FifthWall Solutions and SaaS Alerts, why we're really here, the growing need for cyber insurance, what is Beltex, how you can offer Beltex to your customers, what will your customers' experience with Beltex look like, and where does SaaS Alerts fit in? And then, as always, we'll leave some time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. So let me just cover the SaaS Alerts and FifthWall together slide, if you will. So we've been talking with the guys at FifthWall for, I think, over a year, and I've even had them on as presenters in our weekly calls a couple of times to just discuss the overall needs and the changing landscape of cyber insurance. We've been aware that they've been working on a product aimed at the MSP marketplace for quite some time. We've talked about it. That offering is finally ready to be unveiled. Most of this webinar is going to be Dustin taking us through the nuts and bolts of it. This is an offering that is for your clients, the MSP's customers, and it's a value add that you can bring to your customer base that does two things. Number one, it helps introduce the talk track that you should inevitably have with them around why cyber insurance is necessary. And then it gives you an on-ramp and really simple offering to move forward. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dustin. I'm still going to run the slideshow here and just kind of hopefully cue perfectly off of Dustin's comments. But Dustin, be sure to give me some kind of a wink or a nod if I'm getting behind. Take it away.
All right. So yeah, like Chip mentioned, FifthWall Solutions, we're a wholesaler. So I started working with them 2021. I actually come from the MSP space. I am sitting in my MSP office at the moment down in Austin, Texas. We got 29 people working here, and we are crazy and focused on law firms. So a lot of this came out of, for me personally, was just the frustrations of insurance is a pain in the butt, right? So that's driven a lot of the stuff I've experienced as an MSP, what talking to other people, the problems that we need to solve for the MSP industry around insurance. So running through a couple of the pieces, the worst one to me was I can go and buy auto insurance. I can go buy homeowners insurance, right? I can go online, I get an instant quote, I buy it, great. Cyber insurance is the opposite. I sit here, I fill out a PDF application, I email it to an agent. A lot of times that agent waits until like the day before and says, oh, hey, we need more information. Like, guys, you've had 12 months, right? It expires on the same date every year. Let's get a little bit ahead of it. Fill out these multiple applications. Hey, this came up, this port scan. Okay, what does that mean? I'm actually dealing with a different carrier right now. They flagged a FortiGate as a critical vulnerability. Like, show me the CVE, give me something on it, that kind of thing. So just headache after headache after headache. And then the one that I absolutely hate, I still don't have a good answer for why the insurance industry works this way. But like, you're going to decline me on certain controls. Why are you letting me fill out an application just to, find out a week later? So really wanted to be transparent of like, you got to have this, right? You have to be this tall to ride, or don't even waste your time filling out the application. So trying to make that part of it easier. The second part is, I think we've all seen in the news, there's a lot of carriers that are starting to offer the cybersecurity services. I went to an insurance conference in November, and I had a bunch of people, carriers, agents and stuff talk to me, and they're like, hey, you know what, Chip? Did you know this is going to be the year of MDR, right? We're gonna start really pushing this kind of stuff. It's this new technology. I don't know if you've heard of it. So I was laughing because it's been, Chip, what year did you start SaaS Alerts?
2019.
2019. So, I mean, this is
So that
not,
means about 2029, it will be the year of SaaS monitoring
yeah.
for the insurance industry.
The insurance industry is just so behind on practical controls. So recognizing that sort of thing, right? So I mentioned earlier the FifthWall side, we're the ones that agents were coming to, the brokers, that sort of thing. Started serving MSPs 2020 or so. And so we've been working towards this. You've probably heard us talk about it, but Beltex is our own policy, right? We have to work with our carrier partner on it, but it's the only place you can get it. We are able to set the underwriting controls. And then the other part of that was really neat was, if any of you have gone through an insurance claim, I have 3 times as an MSP for our clients. It's not the best experience. There's a lot of situations where it's like, hey, we isolated the whole network. We know what's going on. And we had the incident response firm saying, hey guys, like, step out of the way. We're just going to come in and install Sentinel-1 on everything and power it back on, see what happens. It's like, that's a bad idea for everybody. So as part of it, we're actually able to, with Beltex, bring you the MSP into the claims process. So whenever you call in, we have sort of a framework of here's what you need to do. You have to be pre-approved for this process, which we're going to get to. But whenever the claims kick off, we want you there side by side. The law firm that we work with knows that they're going to involve you. And then the good part is, hey, this was a ransomware attack. We need you guys to restore backups from a week ago. That work is eligible to be reimbursed. You submit an invoice to the carrier side. It has to go through some stuff. And I say eligible because it's not a guaranteed thing. But in the majority of cases, if you follow the directions, you'll get reimbursed. It's going to be roughly $150 an hour for doing that work, getting your client back online. Because my thought process was, who knows the client better than the MSP, who can work faster on it, who already has access to those backups, that sort of thing. So we've been looking at kind of every facet of how can we make the experience better for all parties involved, and bringing the MSP more into the loop on the claim side was a huge, huge win. So, all right. So going start to finish, we're going to dig a little bit deeper now. Please put questions in, by the way, and I'm actually going to drop a link to our website. If you are getting a $1 million policy, you can actually go in the top right, and I'd like you guys to look at this so you can ask questions and I'll answer as many as I can. In the top right, you'll see get instant quote. That'll kick you over to the application form so you can see the questions, you can see what's required. Give me feedback. That was kind of one of my other requests on this is tell me the good, bad, the ugly, what you hate about insurance. We're steadily evolving. We just got to the point where we could start doing policies in late December, the last week of the month. So we're continuing to evolve the product. We're continuing to evolve our policy. And we can't do that without feedback from you guys. So, all right. Cyber insurance program for SMBs. So technically we can do any business that has up to $100 million a year in revenue. That being said, I don't think you're going to have like an $80 million a year business be comfortable just buying straight online. They're probably going to want to talk to an insurance agent. So at that point, as you get into the bigger clients, that's where FifthWall, the traditional process we've already had built, where Wilson, Will, Andy come in, sit down, talk to you, talk to your customer. That's still where you want to go for the larger customers. Beltex is an awesome fit for, you have those customers that say, hey, I just need to get a policy, right? Amy, I just had this new contract. I got to check the box, right? Can I get a policy? You know a bunch about cybersecurity. They can go online, they can instantly apply, they can e-sign, then they pay. Hey, you got a policy, great. The other one is whenever you have the smaller customers. A lot of MSPs that we work with have told me that like 15-ish users is kind of the dividing line, to where if it's under that, they a lot of times don't want to deal with an insurance agent. It's again just kind of a quick check the box, so to speak. And then once they get a little bit bigger, they do need to be looking at the bigger picture. They need to be a little more consultative. And that's where you would want to, again, engage the traditional FifthWall process. That being said, though, is like we had a 100-person law firm the other day that just came in and did it and said, yo, this was great. Thank you so much. So again, Beltex is kind of the easy start there. It's the easy button. You can get a policy literally in a couple of minutes. And then as you get into bigger, more mature customers, if you want to bake it into your QBR process, that kind of thing, is go through our traditional education training program that we built on the FifthWall side. Alan is asking maximum insurance coverage. We can do up to 3 million on Beltex. That being said, Beltex does not insure MSPs currently. I'm hoping we'll get to that point. That's kind of our next big challenge at FifthWall, is the MSP insurance side of it. But this is for, Chip mentioned earlier, this is for your customers. So if you go in, try to get a policy, you actually get a kickback and say somebody will manually reach out, and somebody on the FifthWall team is going to reach out to you and say, hey, we can help you get a policy for your MSP. So I mentioned earlier, start with Beltex, graduate to FifthWall. For those of you guys that don't know, FifthWall brought myself and Wes Spencer in 2021 to kind of build the MSP channel. And so we realized it took us about a year to figure it out. But we realized, first of all, nobody wants to deal with insurance in the first place, right? But from the MSP perspective, you can't get paid. Like straight up, if you're taking money, the State Department of Insurance is going to catch on at some point. There's going to be problems. There's going to be consequences. So how do you make money as an MSP using insurance? It's another framework. Sorry. I know we don't have enough frameworks. So great. Insurance brought us one more. It's not even that great of a framework, but it is what it is because people need insurance. So use insurance as the tool to get your customers to do what they're supposed to on security. Easiest example, multi-factor is my favorite one, right? You have the CFO that's been sitting there saying, you know what, Dustin, I really don't like this multi-factor thing, is annoying. We're not a big enough target. I want you to turn it off. We'll suffer the consequences, whatever, every excuse in the book. And as MSP, I'm sitting there going like, dude, you need to turn that on. Like, this is easy defense, right? Microsoft did their report, 99.9% of identity attacks are stopped by MFA. And you still have customers you're fighting with. The minute that they get that insurance questionnaire, or that the insurance agent says, hey, guess what, Chip, you need MFA on, they're sitting there looking at you as MSP like, Dustin, why didn't you turn this on already? Insurance is saying we need this, right? So on the MSP side, I've actually had our help desk policy, if somebody asks to turn off MFA, is the immediate answer is, sorry, insurance requires that, we can't do that. Kind of close ticket from there most of the time. So that's been a great thing from the insurance side. The problem now that we've ran into, so the MSP industry, SMB kind of in general, we've seen a good uptick of MFA, solid backups, security awareness training, right? Those really core controls, just the super fundamentals. But as MSPs, we know there's a evolution of that, right? The MDR, the monitoring, 365 is just such a huge attack vector from the identity standpoint. Insurance doesn't really recognize that. They may ask about it, but guys, there's still so many carriers that you can go, like if you have MFA and backups, you can go get a policy. Like that's it, just bare table stakes. Great, they'll give you a policy. So another thing that we did on the Beltex side is we've started to recognize the tools that on the MSP side we're all using, right? EDR with 24/7 management is a good example. SIM is something else that's coming up more and more. Because with the traditional approach to insurance, you're coming in, you have this really high bar of security, and insurance only cares about maybe, the first 20% of it sort of thing. So from the Beltex side, we're requiring 24/7 EDR as an example. I posted the link earlier. You can go see our application, but we built it around as we've worked with on the FifthWall side. We have like 2,000-ish MSPs. Talking to everybody, the more security mature MSPs, the folks on this call, right? The MSPs that are going to watch this. What does that security stack look like? Not from a product standpoint, but just from a tech, from a security, what are you putting in place as your standards? And we built around that. So the cool conversation you can have with your clients is, look, by working with my MSP, we got really good security for you guys. And that's going to make you eligible to go get a policy with Beltex. The flip side of that is whenever they go in to do that, oh, great, it's another insurance company. We have really, really, really good rates. Whenever we're quoting against other insurance carriers, we're typically one of the lowest two that they'll get out of everybody. So that is, the story there you have to tell your customers is, look, you brought me in as your MSP, right? We got great security. I deployed all this stuff for you. And so now what's going to happen is you can go to Beltex and you qualified for this good insurance policy that also has really good rates by virtue of what I did for you on the security side. So as far as using it from that standpoint, have that conversation. You really want to build insurance into your QBRs at this point, if you're not already. That's a good conversation to have. Just from the validation standpoint, from a risk management, everybody wants to be the trusted advisor, right? We're probably all sick. I've been doing MSP since 2008. We've been hearing trusted advisor for years and years. Sitting there doing QBRs with like ticket reports and, patching cadence and all that stuff, that's not trusted advisor. Talking about insurance, that's trusted advisor, right? Having that conversation around that. And the other part of it is, and this is just a unfortunate reality of we have to deal with. Don't put your head in the sand, because if you go out there and look, we had CrowdStrike is now being offered through AtBay. AtBay's big SMB cybersecurity insurance provider. Coalition is selling SentinelOne. And then if you want to just scare yourself a little bit, go Google Acrisure, ACRISURE. They are like the second or third biggest insurance agency in the country, and they bought several MSSPs. So whenever I talk about being defensive on it, you got to have these conversations, because otherwise, I have a friend of mine up in New York that called me one day, just flying off half-cocked about it. Insurance is evil. I finally calmed him down. I was like, dude, what happened? And the insurance agent came in somehow and had convinced the customer that my buddy had also, and they ran rapid fire tools on the network. So his client had called him freaking out, going, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff on it. Like, it's rapid fire tools. It's made to scare you. But that agent was kind of starting to wedge in on being that trusted advisor for cybersecurity. So you don't necessarily need to be the insurance expert, but what you want to have happen is whenever that agent goes and is like, hey, Amy, we really need to run this rapid fire tools thing to check your cybersecurity, that they go, oh, hold on a second. Like, I talked to my MSP about this a couple weeks ago. Let's get them involved in that conversation, right? You don't want the agent coming in and displacing you. They're partnering with MSPs. They may even own an MSP, that kind of thing. So, like I said, unfortunate reality that we're in right now. You got to start playing defense a little bit at a bare minimum on this sort of thing. So
Dustin, I want to pause you there for a second.
Sure.
And just really hammer home on this point. You're stating that insurance agents in your local market have gotten wise to the fact that either partnering with or starting their own MSP is a way to encroach on the MSPs who don't really know anything about insurance themselves. They're licensed in the insurance industry, so they can basically work both sides of the fence. Whereas the MSP community that we work with together, they aren't licensed in the insurance world. There's no way for them to directly benefit from that revenue and that relationship other than through reimbursement for right of boom remediation services, correct?
Yes, and upsell of, and I'm saying sell, let's be honest, we're, MSP, you're there to make money as well. So we can do the right thing, get them the good security and make some money on the sale of the services as well. But yeah,
Yep.
your hands are tied a little bit as an MSP. You can only navigate the insurance side so much. So that's where, on the FifthWall side is we're allying, we're coming in side by side on the Beltex side. And to be clear too, on Beltex, if they go through and they want to talk to somebody, we have a team. Half the time it's going to be FifthWall folks that are talking. We also have a couple dedicated Beltex employees at this point. We can absolutely get somebody on the phone as well. So leverage us. That's been kind of the thing on the FifthWall side. Hey, I got this client that they're complaining about their cyber insurance. I've been trying to get them to, add SaaS alerts. Can we talk about that some? We're not going to come in and craft whatever narrative you need us to necessarily, but if it aligns, which a lot of times it does, we can't get them to turn on MFA. Let one of us come in and, push them a little bit from the insurance side. This is something that this policy is looking for. This is something that these guys want to have in place. This will help reduce your rates, that sort of thing. So use insurance as a little bit of a stick to get them to embrace better security, to take it more seriously. And then there's an end result that works out. Everybody wins. It's how rare do you get to say that, right? The insurance rates go down. And I'll tell you on the insurance side, as the policy owner, with Beltex, is I get a lot better stuff too. You've seen the talk about the loss ratios and all the claims going through the roof. Good security cuts that stuff down. So I want you guys to have better security for your customers. It gets you more revenue, it helps reduce their rates, and then it helps me from having to pay out these giant, $1 million claims as well. So again, it's cool. How often do you get to say it's a win-win on that kind of stuff on all sides? Matt had asked, are these policies a la carte, just cyber insurance? Will anybody reach out to the client about other offerings, upsells? So on the Beltex site right now, it's 100% cyber. We are doing other policies on request. We have a small team doing some professional services stuff. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke on you guys and say, oh, we'll never reach out. In the future, we might. We are so busy trying to get all this stuff going, though. The intention right now is we just want you guys to give an easy button for cyber insurance, to where you can come in, you can sign them up instantly, you can move on to the next thing and not worry about. What I can tell you is we're not ever going to sell services. So you won't ever see Beltex emailing anybody and saying, hey, here's the MDR. We are going to have partnerships like we do right now with SaaS Alerts, to where you as the MSP, we might email you and say, hey, have you checked out SaaS Alerts? But our goal is to, in traditional insurance, I always joke that the real customer of a carrier is not actually the policyholder, it's an insurance broker, right? They want to make the agents happy. On Beltex, my customer is you, the MSP, right? We want to ally with you. We want to make you look good. We want to be complementary. The world does not need another MSSP, right? There's no point in us. There's a lot of companies that do great. There's a lot of MSPs that do great that are selling those services already. So Beltex was founded entirely on that principle of we want to be complementary to what you guys are already doing today. So Matt, I think I answered that. If you want clarification on any more of that, please let me know.
So Dustin, take us through the nuts and bolts of this slide. How does this actually work with an MSP partner and their customer?
Yeah, so crazy concept. Whenever we were going out to find a carrier partner, we said we want to have something that's entirely, API driven, that can be done online, that does not involve sending back and forth a bunch of PDFs. Crazy concept. That's part of the reason it took us so long to get this launched. There's not a lot of carriers out there that do it. We do have a very large carrier partner in place. It's Spinnaker. You've probably never heard of them because everything they do is sort of white labeled like this. But just saying that part out loud, it's not like, spend Dustin's money on claims. It's a very well established. I think they were started in 2016, highly rated. So if you have those clients that are looking at, the financial ratings and stuff of it, they'll be very impressed. But you can go on the website. Again, I mentioned we have 3 policy tiers we can do, $1 million policy or a $2 or $3 million. If you want a $1 million policy, I put the link in chat. You can hit apply instantly, fill out the form. And then again, crazy concept, it spins for a minute and then immediately kicks you over and says, here's the 3 policy options that you can get. Your customer looks it over, they hit buy now. And at that point they go, they e-sign the actual policy, they enter their payment information, and literally instant cyber policy. It emails them the policy paperwork within the next 45 minutes. So recommended process whenever you're working with them is get on, do a screen share. You can send them the information of just say, hey, we have these things in place, let them fill it out. One piece we don't have yet, but we're working on, I believe it's either the next thing coming out or the one after that. So it's either the first or second thing about to come out, is we're gonna have a pre-fill form. One of the biggest things we hear from MSPs is like, oh, I don't want to fill that stuff out. It's, I'm scared of the legal liability. Ours is going to be, we're even going to put red text on the top, right? This is not an insurance application, but you can fill out the security questions and then put in your client's email, and it will send them a thing to complete the rest of the form and e-sign it. So that was something we've had a lot of MSPs ask for. But again, going back to our goal is to just, eliminate some of the big pain points. The delays, the PDF forms back and forth, the filling them out, all that kind of stuff. That was our big driving factors in putting together the Beltex policy. All right, now we can jump, Chip. Sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so where does SaaS Alerts fit in? So remember earlier that I was talking about how we are letting you guys participate in the claims process as MSPs. There are certain requirements on that we'll get to here in a minute. But the other part is everything has to go through the claims department, the legal approval, this, that, and the other. So we were looking at early on, like, how do we put something in place? We can't just accept everybody that comes knocking in the door. So what we came up with, talking to Chip and the team, is we wanted to partner with a couple of cybersecurity companies that, that signal a high level of maturity, security maturity for the MSPs. So SaaS Alerts is a great one because it's like, look, Office, I'm going to keep hitting Office 365 because that's where we see a ton of claims on the business email compromise, which is an easy win with SaaS Alerts. So, who is taking this kind of stuff seriously? We see two big events on the claim side. We see business email compromise, meaning somebody got into a mailbox, and we see ransomware events. So we want to stop these business email compromises. Last year, it actually overtook ransomware events, not in total costs, but in quantity. On the insurance side, we're seeing a ton of business email compromise. So great. Okay, at Beltex, how can we, who can we work with? How can we take this seriously to help stop it? So that's where we ended up engaging with SaaS Alerts on this. So what we're looking for is to be approved for that that incident response program. To get you in as an MSP to be able to apply is you have to be a current SaaS Alerts customer. So rather than just sitting there combing through individually all these MSP looking at this kind of thing, we have a couple requirements that, again, I'll go into in a minute. And then you need to be a current SaaS Alerts customer. Because to us, it was like, all right, this MSP, they take security seriously, that they're deploying something like SaaS Alerts.
So Dustin, to put a really fine point on that, Beltex will underwrite other MSPs that aren't SaaS Alerts customers, but they just can't participate in the instant approach that you guys are building, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we want to go through the policyholders. We want them to have an MSP. One of the things we'll do in the future is we have had a couple people buy policies that don't have an MSP currently. Please don't take this as we're going to send you a bunch of leads, right? That will never happen. But the occasional ones, whenever we do have those, is we want to say, hey, can we match you with an MSP and or do some kind of thing? But the majority of our policyholders will be somebody that's working with an MSP, that the MSP kind of brought them to Beltex. And to be eligible, again, for that claims program, like Chip said, for you to be able to participate in the claim, for you to be able to get paid in the claim, is two things have to happen, right? Your customer has to have a Beltex policy, and you have to be pre-approved prior to that claim happening. So how do you get pre-approved? You're a SaaS Alerts customer, and then you complete the form and meet the other requirements.
Okay. I think we're getting close to the end. The specific what next?
Yeah, so Mark has a question here, and I'm gonna assume that the answer is yes, because your customers are using SaaS Alerts, whether it's direct or through an MSSP.
Yeah, so and Mark, I just actually put the answer. So your customer, kind of take them out of it for a second. The program that we're talking about right now is the approved IR MSP. You, the MSP, have to be a customer of SaaS Alerts to be eligible to get into the program. There's three other questions, I'm sorry, on there. You have to have a minimum number of technical resources and minimum number of decision makers. One of the headaches that we see on the claim side has been, okay, the MSP is involved. We need to restore from backups. We could do a whole webinar on the way claims work because it's kind of crazy. But what's going to happen is, pretend Amy is our claims expert, right? And I'm the MSP. So Amy goes, all right, guys, forensics came in. We figured out what happened with this ransomware attack. We need you to restore from backups from a week ago. Dustin, the MSP, can you please give us a quote to approve and get the work going? So you got to turn that stuff around quick. So one of the requirements that we have is that you have a 24/7 available decision maker during a claim, because whenever that request comes in, we can't wait for, Chip to wake up the next morning to do that. We kind of got to have all of our ducks in a row. And then the final piece is you do need to have technology errors and emissions, tech E&O insurance for your MSP, at least $1 million. I would bet everybody on this call has that in place, but we do see MSPs sometimes without it, or with there's one carrier out there that'll do $500,000. So having those three things in place, plus being a current SaaS Alerts customer, that will get you into the program. It does take about 90 days right now after you apply. You get, kind of instant approved, but then you get into the queue, because on the claim side, they are going to go and look and review some of the stuff. They're going to look you up, make sure you're a real company, that sort of thing. So we actually have our first cohort wrapping up right now. And we're going to kind of do a rolling one probably every 30, 45-ish days. So Mark, let me know. I'm rambling today. Sorry, guys. But Mark, let me know if I answered your question with that. It is not, the IR program is not specific to your customers. It's specific to you as the MSP. And then your customer would have to have that Beltex policy. I mentioned earlier, online, instant quote bind, pay $1 million, right? It's like auto insurance, homeowners. It's stupid. Hopefully there's no agents watching this. It's stupid that we have to, for these smaller customers, that we got to jump through a bunch of hoops for it, whenever we could be doing a lot faster. And then if you need 2 million or more, contact us. We have to do a little bit of manual work on that, but I promise we're a lot faster and more communicative than, your typical insurance agent. I mentioned before around, being defensive on it. Just in general, it's a good idea. I would recommend every MSP get at least the base policy information. What's the policy number? What's the claims information as part of IR planning? If your customer gets ransomed and you call them up and you go, hey, Chip, I know it's, 11 p.m. on a Friday night, but we just had a ransomware attack. Can you give me your insurance information? A lot of times they're going to go, oh yeah, that's on the network share. Like, and it is very difficult. Actually, just talked to Wes Spencer the other day, and this came up over the weekend. It is really hard to call into an insurance carrier and say, hey, I got ransomed, I can't get my information. So having that ahead of time. And that's a great opportunity to have that discussion around Beltex, right? Is, hey guys, next time you do your renewal, I'd like to, let you take a look at this Beltex thing. Just, if nothing else, get a quick quote to compare to your current policy. That's a really good way to, wedge in there with that conversation. Will said, we get SaaS Alerts through our partnership with our MSSP. Are you eligible? Yes. We're looking for, again, we want you guys as the MSP using, good security, mature products. So yeah, as long as your MSP has SaaS Alerts, you qualify. I'm not particularly worried about how you got it. So George asked, is a smaller one-person MSP eligible? George, unfortunately, you are not right now. On the carrier partnership side, the carrier team is the one that runs the claims. They're looking for, typical IR firm is going to be 100+ people for them to engage with. So on the MSP side, we're able to drive that significantly down, but we do need to have a little bit larger than a one-person MSP, sorry. And then my last bullet point on here was feedback, process, underwriting, everything. I want you guys, give me your feedback, please. The good, the bad, the ugly. What, if you were king of the world for a day, what would you fix? We are the first ones, I think, in the industry that have had this level of authority to be able to make these changes, to do this kind of stuff. So we want to keep being that, cutting edge innovator. And I mentioned before, I'm still, 1 foot in my MSP, so I get to see some of it day to day, but we're just one MSP. I want to hear from everybody, what you guys would love to see. Matt Smith, average cost of a $1 million policy. It's going to be right about $3,000. And that being said, though, I talked earlier about kind of those small clients, right? The ones that are under 15, even getting down to, if you have those micro clients that are like 3, 5, 7 people, we are seeing a lot of policies that are around $1,000. So it goes surprisingly cheap. there's been a lot of folks that I've talked to that have said we can't afford cyber insurance. Then they come and look on the Beltex side and like, oh, this is, I did a 7-person law firm, I think, the other day, and it was like $1,100. So it gets, I mentioned earlier, we do have pretty great rates on our policy. It gets surprisingly low. You guys have seen, on some of the warranty stuff where it's like, oh yeah, you can get a warranty for like $2,000. On those smaller clients, again, under 15, Beltex is even going to be price competitive with a warranty. But we give you a full, $1 million traditional insurance policy. So, Mike had asked the number of technical contacts and decision makers. Give me 1 second. I honestly don't know that answer offhand, but I will drop it in chat here momentarily. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Want to add, I know Chip, you were on that slide previously. I see a lot of existing SaaS Alerts partners on the call, but if you are not a current SaaS Alerts partner and you're interested in learning more, shoot over to our website. You can request a free trial and we'll walk you through what all that looks like, show you all the benefits. And then if there's any other questions.
Yeah, and this kind of stuff, just talking from the insurance side, again, partnering with SaaS Alerts, is the business email compromise is just going through the roof, you guys. This is an easy, and price-wise, like the bang for your buck is insane. Getting this kind of protection in place stops a lot of these business email compromises. One of the things, I can't remember who I heard this from, but it's like turning $800,000 claims into $80,000 claims. Business email compromise, it's, we're going from 80,000 down to $8,000 claims kind of thing. Why do you care, right? Your customer, as an MSP, I love having my customers insured because after these events, they're going to be mad, period, right? So at that point, ooh, we got insurance to cover it, right? Now they're focusing on that side of it rather than being upset at you, the MSP. But again, if we can prevent it, if we can reduce that damage, these breaches these days, it's a question of when, not if. So let's reduce the damage. And this type of thing, SaaS Alerts is awesome at that.
Hey, Dustin, we've talked a little bit in the past about the fact that this is a new offering. You're just growing it into the MSP community based upon your own experience on the MSP side and through FifthWall on the insurance side. What's over the horizon? If you could describe where you see this in a year, 2 years, 3 years in terms of the size customers that can be covered, whether or not MSPs themselves can be insured. What's the roadmap for where Beltex is going?
Yeah, so the MSP insurance is definitely one that we want to get done sooner rather than later. The insurance industry is scared to death of MSPs, so that's actually a pretty tall ask. But the other part of it, what I think will be the next phase for kind of FifthWall cyber insurance in the MSP space is right now. So we were really transparent on the controls that we look for on here, right? If you have to have this or not. One of the things, I can't put this on the form, but you can absolutely reach out to me and I can tell you, there's 3 controls on there that affect your rates. But full transparency, the majority of your rate is going to come from 3 specific things. The first is the size of your company on revenue. The second is what industry it is. And the third is around what state you're in. The reason being, like, I'm down here in Texas. We barely have any laws, right? So medical office gets breached. It's like $250 per medical record as a fine. Versus if you go to California, it's, $4,000 or something like that. So those 3 factors, that sets 95% of your policy cost with Beltex. The controls only adjusted a little bit. What we'd like to see is there's a substantial difference between a company that has, let's say MFA backups and EDR versus somebody with a full MDR solution that has conditional access policies in place, that has a SIM, that has the full, right, that has top-notch security. That should be more than like a 5% discount. So that's the big push, and that's where I think insurance is finally starting to understand this enough to be able to do, in my book, is we should be seeing 50% swing on your policy cost, right? It shouldn't be you went from 10,000 to 9,000 by having good security. It should be, you went from 10,000 to 5,000. Like, you have a top-notch MSP, you got really good security controls in place. We would love to give you a policy for half the standard price. So I think, Chip, that's going to be over the next 12 months. Hopefully it's us, but just in general, I think we'll start seeing a lot more motion in that.
So let me follow up on your comment about the vertical market that an organization is in. Are there, for the MSPs that are on the call, a lot of people focus on verticals. You mentioned earlier on that you really focus on the legal side. Are there particular verticals that already, or the insurance industry knows already, that are underwriting differently because of the vertical type?
Yeah, professional services is actually a big one. One of the big prominent carriers I mentioned earlier, we do law firms. One of the big prominent carriers just dropped cyber coverage for small law firms, period. We're seeing a lot of running from those industries because if you look at CPAs, finance, that kind of thing, they have a lot of sensitive information. They are, what's a polite way to put this? Lawyers are very high maintenance to deal with, right? So you're seeing a lot more of the, just turn off MFA, that sort of thing. So on Beltex, we can still write those. We have a handful of exclusions, like if it's anything cannabis related, gambling, a few things like that. But for the most part, we're able to do, most of the industries. But professional services has been one. The education industry, because it's just such a struggle. If any of you guys have dealt with on the education side of do you multi-factor protect the students? That's a weird one. That's not something that we have to consider on our side. So those more complex, the more complex situations, I don't want to say it's complex security because we know how to secure it on the MSP side, but for insurance where they've struggled a little bit more, our bar is higher. So we're able to, provide a policy for a lot more of those. I just wanted to hit two quick questions that had come up real quick. Mike asked the number of technical contacts and decision makers. So 5+ technical staff, and at least one 24/7 decision maker. So I would hope every MSP at least has an owner that could be a 24/7 decision maker. But the reason for that question is that, if there is a claim that you're participating in, you got to have somebody there 24/7 that can help from the being able to put those quotes, turn them back around to the breach counsel. And then the other part, Matt Smith, if not part of the IR, will another MSP in the pool be asked to fix? How is that handled? The answer is absolutely not. MSPs will only work their own customers. If there is no MSP that's approved, say it's your customer or somebody else that had just come in off the website, we'll fall back to the general just incident response pool, which is going to be your Kroll's, Arete, I forget who our list of IR providers, but the more traditional shops. We 100% will not bring in another MSP to support your customer. I'm going to drop that in chat.
Okay, bottom is out.
I think that's all I got.
Amy, any more questions in the queue?
Nope, nothing else in the queue. We've got them all.
Okay, and we've got all of Beltex's contact info in the chat already, I think, as well as ours. Anybody that needs to would like to have a review on this webinar, we've recorded it. Amy can make it available for any SaaS Alert partners, so definitely reach out, and we'd love your feedback.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you, Dustin.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.